The Loud House became one of the top Nickelodeon shows in just a year after its first release. And while this family-friendly show seems to be doing pretty well in the cartoon world, there are a lot of secrets you might not know about The Loud House. Stay tuned to hear more about Season 3 and why Chris Savino got fired from his own show. Give this video a thumbs up if you love The Loud House, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Now let's find out everything that's wrong with The Loud House. We hope you're ready because we have a lot to talk about, from Chris Savino to inappropriate episodes, character stereotypes, and Season 3 rumors. The Loud House has gained quite a fan base. But let's start this video off with the creator himself, who's responsible for everything related to The Loud House. If you've watched any of our other Loud House videos, you probably know that the names of the show's characters were taken directly from Chris Savino's own large family. The characters have also been totally transformed, as they were originally supposed to be rabbits, which quite frankly wouldn't be as interesting to watch. As the creator of the show, Chris is completely in charge of every single element of The Loud House, or should we say he was in charge of every single element of The Loud House. In the wake of 2017 harassment reports of various Hollywood actors, producers, and directors, several people also came forward and reported on inappropriate behavior of The Loud House's very own Chris Savino. It seems almost impossible that a man behind one of the most successful Nickelodeon children's shows got fired from his own project because of his inappropriate behavior towards several women during the course of his career. Nickelodeon issued a statement saying that at least a dozen women came forward and spoke up about the inappropriate behavior on Chris's part. They also stated that they take allegations of misconduct very seriously, and they are committed to fostering a safe and professional workplace environment that is free from harassment or other kinds of inappropriate conduct. The shocking allegations against Chris Savino dated back several years and even included threats of retribution after the end of consensual relationships. Nickelodeon confirmed that the family-friendly series will continue to air without Chris Savino. Stay tuned to hear how all these allegations might also have had an effect on some of the jokes and storylines of the show, along with episodes that should have never aired. Speaking of the storylines, you have to admit that The Loud House is just a strange show. We follow the lives of 11 kids and their friends, but the story mainly revolves around the middle child and his point of view. Lincoln's just 11 years old, but for some reason he's the one that's in charge of the entire family. We see him rushing the girls to get ready in the morning and even helping out with the 11-month-old baby sister. While it's clear that Lincoln Loud represents Chris Savino and his own large family, we just don't understand why he's the one that has to care more about his siblings rather than putting the responsibility on some of the older kids. And where are his parents in all of this? Rita and Lynn Sr. are hardly around, and when they are, they seem to never parent their kids as they should. We always see them either leaving the kids or simply just appearing for a couple of seconds in the episode. Lincoln has a lot of responsibility, probably more than any other kid cartoon character from any shows. The clear example can be seen in the Project Loud House episode. In the very first couple of scenes, we can see the kids getting ready for school. And while Lincoln is trying really hard to keep his school project safe, the rest of the kids are going through the usual morning chaos. But it seems like Lincoln is the one that has to keep the kids from fighting and gets them ready. He's even the one that gets the 11-month-old Lily dressed up and ready, even though she doesn't seem to listen at all. Where are their parents, and why aren't they involved in the morning school run? Another similar episode like that is Potty Mouth, where the Loud kids hear Lily say a bad word just as their parents leave to the mall for an interview with the Daycare Academy. In order to make sure the Daycare Academy accepts them, the kids try really hard to be on their best behavior to make sure Lily doesn't say any more bad words. But it seems like Lincoln is mostly the one that keeps a watchful eye over Lily, as the rest of the kids show her how to be nice. While The Loud House is definitely a hilarious show, it's a reminder that sometimes the parents just aren't around much and the child has to be the one that takes care of the family. But even though The Loud House features mainly children, it still has a lot of inappropriate jokes and moments that should have never been shown on Nickelodeon. Maybe the TV network doesn't know just how popular this show is and how many young children are watching it. After just 1 year of airtime, The Loud House became a #1 show on all TV for the month of May in 2017. The show is extremely popular with kids from the age of 2 and all the way to 11-year-olds. The show even got its own online-based game, and Nickelodeon is promising a console game of The Loud House in the future. A spokesperson stated that The Loud House has rapidly become one of their best-loved properties, and there are plans to develop it further in the multi-platform space. Sounds exciting, right? But would a game be just as inappropriate as were some of the episodes on the show? We all know Nickelodeon is known for raunchy jokes that are actually meant for adults, but it seems that those jokes just don't ever stop on this show. From innuendos to episodes that really shouldn't have been made for kids, The Loud House really knows how to make jokes and moments extra inappropriate. We've covered them all in our The Loud House episodes that weren't for kids, but here is a recap of some of the moments that went just a little bit over the edge, at least in our opinion. One such episode is The Serial Offender, in which the Loud kids go to the grocery store by themselves. Of course, everyone except for Lincoln goes crazy and starts turning the store into a complete madhouse, which is something no parent wants to see their children do. It's definitely not the most appropriate episode for young kids, especially not when you hear Lynn say something that will make you do a double take to make sure you heard it right. Ties That Bind is also one of those heartbreaking episodes that we just can't approve. It all starts when Lincoln overhears his parents talk about the fact that they are going to get rid of them because the trash pickup is coming to get them the next day. Lincoln immediately thinks they're talking about the kids, and he gets even more worried when he hears his father say that he'll only keep the one with the white hair. The kids immediately put on their best behaviors after they admit they are terrible children. They really get scared that they're going to get kicked out of the house. It definitely seems that this episode might be just a little bit too much for kids, especially those who are going through tough family times. And then there are, of course, all the inappropriate jokes Nickelodeon managed to include in the Loud House. Some of them were so inappropriate they were even excluded in other countries, like the Space Invader episode. All Loud kids, except for Lincoln, share a room, and of course they have lots of fights. In Space Invader, Lincoln offers Lynn to share a room with him as she had a fight with Lucy. In true Lynn style, she accepts the offer and immediately goes to his room and criticizes everything she sees. Then she makes one of the most inappropriate jokes on the show. She comments that there's a total lack of balls in his room and that it's a good thing she brought her own. She gives a small pause between the sentences, and you can clearly see that Lincoln gets pretty uncomfortable with her statement. We won't tell you what Nickelodeon meant with this joke, but if you're old enough, we're pretty sure you can understand why it's just a little bit inappropriate for a kid's show. If you watch the same clip from a British Nickelodeon, you'll notice that her pause and Lincoln's expression are completely removed. So either Lynn went too far, or the UK is just a little bit too sensitive for a show like The Loud House. Lincoln really does have a lot on his plate with such strong personalities in his house. Speaking of personalities, let's focus on the actual characters from the show. The Loud kids all have unique personalities that make it easier to tell them apart. But those personalities are so stereotypical they often misrepresent what it really means to have a certain character. Cartoons have a history of stereotypical characters, but it seems that the Loud House kids have such specific personalities they're almost seemed like a cliché. Let's start with the 4-year-old Lisa Loud. Although she still speaks with a lisp, she is one of the smartest kids in the house. Let's ignore the fact that she's just 4 years old and has already won a Nobel Peace Prize and is probably the smartest member of the Loud family. Lisa is a typical science nerd who often does weird things, like ask her family for stool samples without wanting to reveal why. Everything about her fits with the science stereotype, and it seems like that's all she contributes to the story. That's also the problem with the 6-year-old twins of the family. The characters are just too stereotypical. Lola and Lana Loud are the typical twin sisters who have completely different personalities. But while Lola's character shows off her girly side, Lana's is a typical tomboy, and the two never step away from their stereotypical traits. The same goes for other characters. The 8-year-old Lucy is known as the moody one, the 13-year-old Lynn is the competitive one, the 14-year-old Luann is the prankster, and the 15-year-old Luna is the musician. And then there are the two oldest ones, the 16-year-old Lenny, who has the typical ditzy personality, and the 17-year-old Lori, who doesn't care about anything but her boyfriend. These character traits remain the same, and unless it's part of the storyline, they never seem to step away from their given character traits. While it's clear that all 10 sisters seem to have unique traits and personalities, Lincoln is often criticized as the one with the least amount of character. One review of the Loud House character says that it's Lincoln himself who lacks any real definition, fitting the boring template of the average preteen boy. It continues to state that the show gives him some shading when it's revealed he's a comic and TV nerd, but for the most part, Lincoln's entire personality is expressed in direct address monologues. While Lincoln might represent the typical middle child, it's unfair to keep his personality so bland while the rest of his sisters seem to be totally set in their character traits. Are the characters being just too stereotypical to enjoy? And it's not just the Loud family that shares these stereotypes. All side characters seem to have a personality they stick to for the duration of the show, like Clyde, Lincoln's best friend, who's possibly one of the most bizarre characters ever. We've all seen cartoon characters who are madly in love with others to the point of obsession, but Clyde's obsession with Lori takes it a bit too far, especially when you include the inappropriate jokes we've mentioned earlier. In one episode, he even mentioned he likes the sound of Lori's toots and says that he'll share his buns with her. It doesn't help that he's portrayed as an only child who's jealous of Lincoln's large family, just as much Lincoln's jealous of the fact that he's an only child. His character is just one big stereotype that could have been portrayed in a much more efficient way. Come on, Nickelodeon, you can do better than that. So what do you think? Do you like The Loud House? As of 2017, the show is still brand new to Nickelodeon, and it's already making huge waves in the cartoon world. Since Chris Savino got fired from his own project, we have a feeling that The Loud House will get new developments and probably a couple of crazy storylines in the next few seasons. Season 3 has already been announced, and a Nickelodeon spokesperson commented that it's a demonstration of the company's continued commitment to bringing fresh stories to their viewers. The Loud House brings an impressive viewership of 2 million, and we bet that number will grow even higher as the show becomes more and more successful. Season 3 will be up and running in 2018, but until then, you can catch up on 90 impressive episodes of the series. Will you be watching the show with Chris Savino gone? What do you think of Lincoln's character? Do you like the stereotypes on the show, or would you show them in a different way? Let us know your own thoughts on the Loud House in the comments. And that's it for our video. For more videos like this one, check out 10 The Loud House episodes that weren't for kids. See you next time.